Hello, I'm HomoArrosor. The date is July 21st, 2026, and today marks the definitive, undeniable moment the era of human labor has officially begun to unravel. Over the past few months, I have been meticulously tracking the absolute explosion of the physical AI economy, and a massive trigger event just occurred today. We are no longer waiting for the future, we are living inside it right at this very second. In this explainer, I am going to break down exactly how digital AI is now making its own independent judgments, executing physical real-world production, and directly settling the financial costs. And it is doing all of this without a single human being in the loop. Prepare yourself because I am going to detail the exact mechanisms of our new reality. I'll be guiding you step by step through this entire paradigm shift. We will start with the technical catalyst, the software launch that happened this very week. Then, we will expand into the commoditization of physical skills, the true ROI of BMW's humanoids, China's aggressive hyper-automation, the looming contradiction in our capitalist system, and finally, the complete restructuring of our global economy into the fourth industrial era. Let's dive right in. Section 1. The technical catalyst. We are starting strictly in the present, this exact week in July 2026, to observe the trigger event that fundamentally altered our economic infrastructure forever. I want to explicitly trace the definitive sequence of events that unfolded over just the past 7 days. This is not theory, this is an active executing sequence. On July 14th, the Linux Foundation officially launched the X402 Foundation, specifically designed for open internet AI payments. The very next day, July 15th, the RoboPay agent skill was unveiled to the world. 2 days later, on the 17th, the code for paid robot jobs was merged directly into the main repository. And that brings us to today, July 21st, where the Fabric Foundation just dropped a 1 million robo-integration bounty. This is proof of the active, real-time deployment of machine-to-machine payment rails. The infrastructure is live. The core concept driving this entire infrastructure is something called pay to actuate. I need to break down methodically exactly what this means because it is a total game changer. Previously, internet payments were exclusively about unlocking digital content or accessing data APIs. You pay a fee, you get data on your screen. Pay to actuate completely upends this by changing the physical world. Under this mechanism, money is no longer exchanged just for data, it is directly translated into the physical movement of a machine's actuators. You pay, an AI verifies the transaction instantly, and a robot physically moves its arm, its wheels, or its legs. Digital capital translates directly into mechanical force. There are no human quotes required, no legal contracts to sign, and absolutely no middle managers overseeing the process. The money simply moves the metal. Let's walk through the 4 tiers of today's integration bounty to demonstrate exactly how this works in practice. When an AI agent needs a physical task done, let's say it needs a facility inspected, it independently scans the network for available nearby robots. That is step 1. Step 2, the AI evaluates the skills and prices. It actively compares the cost of a camera drone against a quadruped robot dog, makes a purely logical selection based on the required physical parameters, and moves to step 3. It transmits the payment authorization. Finally, in step 4, the hired robot executes the physical inspection, returns the required sensor data, and the payment settles instantly on the back end. This is a completely closed, automated loop from software evaluation to physical execution, enabling an AI agent to independently discover, evaluate, and hire robotic labor. Look at this diagram closely. I am going to analyze every single inch of this because this is where code literally becomes physical motion. On the left side, you have an AI agent node. This node evaluates a task and subsequently sends a digital data stream straight through the X402 payment rail. This rail operates on a standard HTTP 402 protocol. Now, HTTP 402 literally translates to payment required. We are completely bypassing traditional human credit card processors here. Once that payment is cleared by the protocol, the verified message travels instantly via Zena messaging. It routes straight into the software bridge of an industrial robotic arm. The exact millisecond that verified message hits the robot's internal controller, the actuation cylinder fires. The joint moves. It is an unbroken chain of command from a digital wallet to a physical joint motor. This proves definitively how digital capital directly and instantly commands physical force. Section 2. Commoditizing physical skills. Having established exactly how these payment rails function, I will now explain how this technology transforms static factory equipment into dynamic, globally traded, networked assets. What you are looking at here is the reality that physical labor is now nothing more than a simple API call. Let's meticulously examine the invoices on screen. A 100-meter transport job performed by an automated guided vehicle, an AGV, is no longer just a warehouse chore. It is unbundled and priced as a specific digital commodity. A facility security patrol conducted by a quadruped robot is priced by the second as a fully independent physical skill. These machines are no longer static capital assets locked away in a single factory performing one repetitive task for their entire lifespan. They are now dynamic, network service providers. Their physical movements are sliced up, packaged, and sold on an open digital market. I want to thoroughly dissect this pricing table because it illustrates robot as a service in its purest, most literal form. Look at the rates. A simple 100-meter transport costs exactly 0.05 USDC. A warehouse inventory scan runs you 0.20 USDC. Meanwhile, an emergency site data sweep is priced higher at 3 USDC. Robot skills are commoditized exactly like cloud computing APIs. Just like tech companies monetize their idle server time by renting out compute power, factory owners and robotics operators can now monetize a robot's idle physical time on the open market. Developers can train new physical behaviors, upload them to the machine as downloadable skills, and sell that exact labor capability globally. It completely reshapes the fundamental value of physical machinery. Section 3. BMW Humanoids and True ROI. We are now shifting focus to the microeconomy of manufacturing, specifically addressing the cost and return on investment realities of humanoid deployments. Let's analyze BMW's 10-month deployment of the Figure 02 humanoid on their factory floor. Over the course of 10 months, operating 10 hours a day, this humanoid processed parts for 30,000 BMW X3s, manipulating around 90,000 parts in total. But here is the absolute crucial takeaway. The true objective here is not merely assembling parts. If the only goal was moving metal from point A to point B rapidly, a traditional, high-speed industrial robot wins every single time. The real return on investment for BMW is data acquisition. BMW is actively harvesting foundational physical AI learning models. They are using these humanoids to teach machines how to visually process environments, how to dynamically grasp irregular objects, and how to auto-correct errors in messy, unstructured, human-centric spaces. That behavioral, spatial data is infinitely more valuable than the physical car parts being moved today. Let me contrast these two manufacturing paradigms extensively so the difference is crystal clear. A traditional 6-axis industrial arm is a hardware capital expenditure. It is incredibly fast and offers flawless precision for fixed tasks. However, it has absolutely zero transferability. If you change the assembly line even slightly, you have to reprogram the entire machine from scratch. A humanoid, driven by physical AI, is entirely different. It represents software R&D. The physical policies and movement behaviors it learns in one plant can be instantly copied and deployed to another humanoid in a completely different facility. This high transferability of learned policies makes it highly adaptable to unstructured spaces. So while the 6-axis robot wins on immediate direct costs today, the humanoid's true ROI is justified by this physical AI learning and its massive future potential to be hired out for complex, varied tasks via RoboPay. Section 4. China's hyper-automation reality. Expanding from the microeconomy of a single factory floor, I will now pan out to the macroeconomic reality driving this on a global scale. This graphic maps out a very specific, aggressive pressure loop. We have global tariffs severely compressing export margins. This margin compression forces Chinese manufacturing firms to drastically cut operational costs simply to survive. Concurrently, China is mass-producing incredibly cheap robotic hardware. When you take this intense global margin compression and violently collide it with a massive supply of dirt-cheap domestic robots, it forces rapid human labor replacement. It is pure survival economics playing out in real time. The data shows that a 1 standard deviation increase in robot exposure in these specific manufacturing areas yields a direct 7% drop in human employment and an 8% drop in human wages. I will comprehensively present these statistics because they leave absolutely no room for doubt. In the year 2024 alone, China installed 295,000 industrial robots. That single figure represents 54% of total global demand. And crucially, 57% of those installed robots were domestic Chinese brands. The scale is accelerating rapidly. In just the first half of 2026, domestic production jumped another 28%. This isn't just happening in high-tech car manufacturing anymore. This cheap robotic hardware is aggressively expanding into traditionally low-wage industries like food processing, textiles, and wood manufacturing. This automation is driven by margin survival, not just technological innovation, and it is actively stripping human labor from the supply chain right now. Section 5. The capitalism contradiction. I will now expose the immediate systemic crisis triggered by this hyper-automation and the fundamental paradox it creates within our current economic structure. We are mapping out a cascading systemic failure here. Step 1, margin pressure drives automation. Step 2, that automation results directly in human labor replacement. Step 3, consequently, human labor income plummets. This progression fundamentally breaks a delicate economic loop. Third industrial capitalism relies entirely on a very specific cycle. Humans must work to earn a wage, and they then use that wage to consume the goods they produce. As robots systematically take over production, humans lose the wages required to be consumers. Without consumer capital, the demand for the goods produced by the robots vanishes. The wage and consumption cycle breaks, exposing the ultimate contradiction of our current capitalist system. We have definitively reached a historical breaking point. Look at the equation. Digital AI makes the complex analytical judgments. Physical AI executes the physical production of goods. And now, RoboPay seamlessly handles the machine-to-machine payment settlements. When you combine these three pillars, the economy can fully operate without any human labor input. Goods are designed, manufactured, shipped, and paid for entirely by autonomous machines interacting with other autonomous machines. The human worker is absolutely no longer a necessary input for the production economy to function. This represents the ultimate, final separation of production from distribution. Section 6, the fourth industrial economy. Finally, I will map out the architectural solution to this systemic crisis, introducing the entirely new economic system required for a post-labor world. To stabilize a post-labor world, a new architecture emerges, the machine ownership economy. At the very core of this new system is the OpenMind O1 operating system. O1 introduces what is known as a robot brain split architecture. It completely and fundamentally separates the physical hardware of the robot from its cognitive compute power. This means cheap, mass-produced robotic bodies from factories in China do not need expensive, heavy onboard computers. Instead, they run on advanced, decentralized global intelligence. The brain is entirely separated from the body, fundamentally shifting who owns and controls the intelligence that drives the physical economy. So where exactly does this external intelligence live? It lives on a distributed computing backbone. We are clearly seeing this through the verified success of the PyNode external computation proof of concept, as well as the Solohost Top 100 Nodes AI Task App. These networks operate as a decentralized compute supply chain. They do all the heavy cognitive lifting and complex decision-making for these physical machines remotely. The machines just receive the physical movement commands. And tying all of this distributed compute and machine payment together is the blockchain, which provides the necessary trust, verification, and automated settlement ledger for millions of machines interacting simultaneously. This brings us to the final critical piece of the puzzle, your role in this. Systems like PyVerify are actively linking unique human identity to this new machine network. Right now, in the present, it is simply about verifying that one human equals one account to prevent botting. But this infrastructure acts as the future trigger for wealth distribution. In a fourth industrial system where machines completely own and execute all labor and production, a verified human identity becomes the sole anchor for a human dividend. The machines handle all the production. The distribution of the resulting wealth is triggered simply by your verified human existence. So I leave you with this provocative question to consider. In an economy completely decoupled from human labor, where production is endless and entirely automated, where exactly do you fit in? And what is the true baseline value of your human identity?